It's time for Cats Talk Wednesday. Small town and big city joined forces. Vinny Hardy of Lynch, Kentucky, and Terry Brown of Louisville, Kentucky, team up to give you free-flowing, laid-back sports talk. Focus on Kentucky Wildcats, as well as pertinent information in the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball.
So here we are, Vinny Hardy, Terry, Tungsten Arm, Brown.
That's right.
I had something else I was going to add with that too, but I saw the other day where the Angels did win 3 in a row for the first time since June.
Man.
And I thought about you, boy, because that Tungsten Arm is perfect, man.
Yeah, that's one of those evergreen tweets that just apply. I mean, having 2 historical talents and just being terrible. It would be like when the Lakers had Shaq and Kobe and just not even winning 30 games.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not talking about championship level. I'm talking about like just not even being a 500 team. I don't know how it works when you've got 2 dudes that are from Otani and
Trout.
Mike Trout. Yeah, just man, see, he's so nondescript, but I mean, he's putting up these ridiculous numbers, but
can't even remember his name. And then Albert Pujols went out there for a decade, and he was still Albert Pujols when he left St. Louis.
Yeah.
And to me, a few more million. The Cardinals gave him, but a few more million living in Orange County as opposed to St. Louis. Did he really get that money with the cost of living? Whatever. He ain't got to answer to me for that decision, but he went out there and he might as well been playing overseas. I forgot Pujols. I never saw him. Never saw him until he came back to the Dodgers last year. Hadn't seen him in 10 years.
And that's the thing is, how can a franchise in Los Angeles be that nondescript?
Mm-hmm.
That's really hard to do. Like, I know we talk about, the Rams obviously won the Super Bowl, but the Chargers, like, we know what's going on with them. Obviously, your 17-time NBA champion, Lakers. Even the Clippers are interesting. I mean, they're terrible, and for comedic purposes, they're interesting. But for the Angels to be out there in Anaheim, you forget about them. Yeah, they won the World Series in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they had Angels in the outfield, which may be like the peak, which may be their peak. But you forget about them, honestly.
Yes, you're second fiddle by a lot to the Dodgers, but you're second fiddle in the second biggest market in this country. And like we don't, not even on the radar.
And you can spend money. That's the thing is you can absolutely spend money as a franchise. You're in LA. So your ticket prices, your Q ratings, you can spend that money. It's how the Clippers made money all those years with being terrible.
Yeah.
You can charge over the average ticket prices if you're the Angels and still not be as expensive as the Dodgers and still make money.
Yeah.
You can still do that because that's what the Clippers did forever.
Yep.
They could charge charge more than like Milwaukee. They can make that money.
Mm-hmm.
Your TV deal simply for being in LA is going to be worth more than the Brewers if you're the Angels.
Yep.
So it's mismanagement, as we've talked about. Most teams don't want to win. They're trying to make a profit, if we're just being honest.
Yep.
And because you got to spend money to make money. We talk about the Yankees getting over the – but especially with George Steinbrenner, you knew they were trying to win. They might sign 45-year-old A-Rod, or whoever, a name person, but trying to win. Not quite like Daniel Snyder in our nation's capital, giving 55-year-old Bruce Smith the contract and 62-year-old Dion. That's just, I'm just trying to get a name.
Yeah.
That's different.
Mm-hmm.
That's just trying to shut up people saying he's not trying to win.
You know, but still
Uh,
not trying to win.
yeah,
Win
like
the money.
you can say, oh, we signed Deion Sanders, like 40-year-old Deion Sanders.
For real. Mm-hmm.
Bruce Smith after he already had 200 career sacks.
Dion kept turf toe in Washington. He was
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we know ask RG3 about the turf.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you get a lot of owners, um, a lot of clubs. They're just trying to turn a profit. Like we've talked about with the Cubs, they're just trying to make money, which is fine. But the thing about sports is there's that emotional investment. You want me to invest in your what your product is, but you're not trying to win. That's the unwritten contract between fans and teams.
Mm-hmm.
Are you trying to win?
Exactly.
Or are you just if you're just trying to make money, I can find something else to do with my time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've been a long time fan, it's hard to quit them drugs, man. It's hard.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I was as a Lakers fan, I was teetering because for a while there, I on this show I said I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't like it. They got to fix this.
Mm-hmm.
If this is LA, you either win or you spectacularly lose. You don't be mediocre. You cannot be just average ho hum and running out them Gonzaga lineups with Ronnie Turia and a Tariq Black and Chris Mim at one point. Whoever they were running out there. That year that Kobe got hurt, woo, those are some lineups. And I was like, you have, woo.
Since we're on them, well, I thought we'd get into them later, but since we're on them, they retiring Pal's number 7 jersey. Did you see that coming? Has there been an outcry for that? Is he? I mean, he ain't that. What tier is he at a Laker? I know he played a key role in those titles, but getting his jersey retired, really?
The I I think absolutely Powell's career, if it was anywhere else, he'd be a no-brainer to get his jersey retired.
Okay.
No-brainer. I think because it's LA and you
Mm-hmm.
look at the jerseys that are retired, that's a high bar. But I
That's what
think
I was.
you look back and Powell was very, very good. He may be, I know Luca is coming on. I know um, Djokovic has won back-to-back MVPs, but
Mm-hmm.
Powell's still on that short list of perhaps top Europeans ever.
Him with right there with Dirk.
I mean, yeah, he's below Dirk. He's below Luca. Will pass him. I think Jokic is there, but honestly, Powell was part of that bridge between soft Europeans and dudes that can get you buckets.
Mm-hmm.
Because when both Gasol brothers came in, physicality, particularly Mark now, being in the grindhouse there in Memphis for all those years, but Powell was that bridge, passing big man. Because you and I remember Europeans, few and far between, but they were soft. Kukoc, not known for body. And the Arvydas Sabonis that we saw,
Mm-hmm.
not quite, because you can hear stories of Olympic teams that had to play against peak Sabonis, like that dude could get you buckets.
Mm-hmm.
So
We had Detlef Shrimp for the longest time.
yeah, Detlef Schrempf was a dude. Yeah,
Oh.
so it was, there was Marcelonis, there was Petrovic who passed away
Yeah.
playing
Mm-hmm.
for the Nets, but Powell was that dude. And if you look at his numbers, they're really, I mean, they're to me, it's worthy of being honored.
Okay. See,
Um,
I did what you said. I was like, all those other jerseys. I'm like, Powell, really? They put him up there? And but
but and that's the thing is Powell may be, if you want to rank him, maybe the worst dude to have his number retired for the Lakers. As I've told you before, picking the Lakers all time starting five is hard because if you like, I wouldn't necessarily put LeBron on an all time Lakers team. That's just me. But
mm-hmm.
just looking at the big men, Shaq, Kareem, Wilt, who do you leave off?
Yeah.
You know, when you start looking at wings, Kobe, Baylor, West, who's not starting?
Mm-hmm.
You know, point guards. I mean, obviously Magic, but Norm Nixon. You know, Jamal Wilkes is in the Hall of like. There are Hall of Fame dudes that have not been honored by the Lakers.
Yeah. And Mikan doesn't even get brought up because he was so another era. Since he was like pre-Bill Russell, but he's the first big man, and he's it was way different back then, but you gotta still mention him because
Right. And I'm looking up the retired numbers just real quick.
oh boy, yeah, it's gonna be an
Uh,
extensive list.
Because
I tell
off
you,
the top of my head, I don't know. Bear with me here.
'cause point guard Magic, Norm Nixon, point guard's probably their weakest position all time after Magic, and that's if right because loaded at shooting guard, loaded at small forward, power forward, and point guard might be the
So
weakest spots.
the retired numbers: Wilt, now Powell, Elgin Baylor, Kobe, Gail Goodrich is a name you probably don't hear that much, but he was absolutely a
Yeah.
great guard. Of course,
Mm,
Magic, Kareem, Shaq, James Worthy,
mm.
Jerry West, Jamal Wilkes. Okay, he is
Oh, okay.
retired, and that's it.
That's all.
That's it.
Hmm. I thought it'd kind of be like, they kind of run out of numbers. You get those some of those, Boston and the Yankees and like they don't have any numbers left for dudes to wear. But that's not
Right.
as many as I thought for the Lakers. They got a lot of JWs: Jamal Wilkes, Jerry West, James Worthy. I mean, a
That's
lot of
right.
JWs up in there.
J Dub is the thing, and of course, Chick Hearn.
Hmm.
But yeah, the standard to get retired by the Lakers is pretty darn high. They're all Hall of Fame players.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just glancing. Gail Goodrich and Powell would be the only two to not be NBA top 75.
Mm. And I wonder if Goodrich was top 50. He had to be close if he wasn't.
I don't think he was. I don't
Really?
think he was. Yeah, but that's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
That's pretty darn good, and so I've got no problem with it because, like I said, uh, if Powell had done what he had done for any other franchise, he
That's
gets
true.
retired.
That is true.
But it's just that when you think of retired numbers, is he Wilt, Kareem, Shaq? No. Yeah, I
Mm.
mean, no. I mean, but three straight finals kept the Lakers, at the top while he was there. So he was the missing piece.
Yeah.
Kobe was ready to go. I
Mm.
think Chicago was almost a done deal.
Mm-hmm.
That trade, but Kobe stayed and getting Powell. Probably the last big move of Jerry West as an executive, and it paid dividends.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, as y'all know, we are coming to you courtesy of Anchor. If you listen on podcasts and wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify and Spreaker and Stitcher and Pocket Cast and all kind of platforms that some people, I don't even know all of them, but some people are like, that's my go-to podcast platform. Well, whatever that is, you can get us there. And you can also see us on Roku, thanks to the BS3 network. It's right there up on the top corner of the screen. BS3, thanks to Ben Studdert and the BS3 network, allowing us to be part of the network. We got a new promo video. Well, I don't know if we got a new promo video. I have to work that in or see how we can do it. I'll check. But the BS3 awards coming up in a couple weeks. And
Yeah, buddy.
we won one last year, the most consistent podcast. Ben was sending out some polls for some groupings of categories that podcasts are getting nominated for. So on the BS3 Facebook group, we saw the newbies, the new kids on the block. Marriage is Real, Life Happens, Man Talk Mondays, and our guy, AJ Jones, Lunch Break Sports Show, friend of this show, So he's nominated for one of the New Kids on the Block podcasts, and there'll be other different categories and stuff to get nominated for as the days draw closer for the awards. So do check us out on your Roku device, like the Facebook page, follow us on Twitter. Sometimes TB and I go as a twosome. Sometimes we have great guests, but we enjoy doing this. Enjoy y'all listening, and definitely appreciate it. Outside of all the Laker stuff, ain't really much to talk about. So I guess we can go ahead and wrap things up, man, and call it after. I'm just kidding. You done already been on a couple shows this week. I didn't hear the spaces last night, but I caught you on Round of Shots talking about the main topic in our state of Kentucky.
Yeah, it's been Friday. Was it Friday when everything dropped? Thursday or Friday?
Yeah.
It all starts running together. So a lot of things can be true at the same time.
Yep.
Right. Cal shouldn't have said basketball school.
Nope.
Normally, Cal is as cold and as calculating with his words as anybody in the business. And you can make that to be a negative or whatever. He knows what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
I think I understand the intent behind what he was saying,
Yep.
but it didn't work. So that's number one. Cal shouldn't have said it. That's one.
Nope.
Two, Mark Stoops was rightly offended.
Yep.
But he took it too far.
Yep.
You can be offended without amping it up like he did. That's two. Three, I support Mitch Barnhart as athletic director. His resume is what it is. You can look at the Director's Cup. You can look at the trophy case. You can look at facilities, all that kind of stuff. The weakest part of his job is the PR aspect.
Yes.
And unfortunately, this past week, we needed an AD that was a master at PR, because the press conference, he made things worse.
Yep.
So you've got three ego-driven, successful guys.
Yep.
The testosterone got raised up.
Mm-hmm.
Social media got involved. Players got involved. Fans got involved. Everybody's choosing sides.
Yep.
And cooler heads eventually prevailed. It shouldn't have gotten this far.
Yeah.
What Cal was saying is true. Kentucky's a basketball school.
They are, yes.
What does that mean? Does that mean we focus on basketball and nothing else? No. What that means is when I wear my Kentucky shirt around here in Iowa and in the Midwest,
yes,
generally the first question, well, not in Iowa, they like Mark Stoops because he played for Iowa. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, it's Kentucky basketball. I've been all over the place. Mm-hmm. I went to a wedding years ago with my first wife, and it was one of her friends that, I'm trying to get this right, her friend got her law degree at Harvard or Princeton, one of these Ivy League schools. Long story short, I'm hanging out with all the groomsmen. They're all Ivy League. Every single one of them. And I'm like, what am I going to say? I don't usually get intimidated, but I'm like, this person went to Harvard. This is my Princeton buddy. This is my Brown. This is Dartmouth. And I'm like, I went to UK. And I'm proud of UK. Don't get me wrong, but Ivy League's Ivy League. So we're wherever. And I'm like, all right, I'll just sit here. And do you know what all these Ivy League dudes asked me? What was it like to be on campus when Kentucky won the championship? So the point is, when you tell someone you're from Kentucky, it's the Derby, it's KFC, and if they're sports inclined, it's Kentucky basketball.
And bourbon.
Yep. And bourbon, right. Like I went.
That's the Mount Rushmore for people outside of here.
I got some bourbon for my birthday a couple of weeks ago. Went to the store and I'm looking at the bourbons. Guy approaches me. Can I help you? Sir, I'm from Kentucky. Most of these good bourbons were brewed about an hour and a half from my hometown. I got it. He said, okay. I was like, I've been on, I'm good. This one's got earth. I understand. Like this one, yeah, I end up going with Four Roses, but I'm like, I understand about bourbon.
Uh-huh.
You don't need to give me whatever you read in the brochure. My blood has bourbon running in it, right?
Uh-huh.
So anyway, so that was Cal's point, right? The big point is Cal wants a new practice facility. Stoops wants a new practice facility. Okay. At the end of all this, with all this puffing up your chest and all this blustering, both of those things are going to happen. They will have state of the art.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that. So then, as the dust starts to settle, now people are saying, okay, who is the most replaceable?
Right.
And what Stoops has done is remarkable. We've talked about it at length on this show. 2 10-win seasons matches the other 10-win seasons that we've had in our lifetime and forever. And it's like 5 or 6 straight bowls, whatever it is. It's beating Iowa. It's beating Penn State in bowls. It is being in a position to make that leap this year. Like you and I went over 10, 11 wins. It's not crazy talk.
Mm-hmm.
We have lapped other programs in the SEC East. You could probably say that Kentucky, maybe the 4th or 5th best program in the SEC total. That's great. He's done a remarkable job. And he reminded everybody that, the football program wasn't born on third base. I dig at the basketball program.
Yeah.
And so then people are like, you can replace Cal. Can you? Yes. Is it as easy as you say? No. Well, look at all the other coaches that have won. And I've been on the record again. Kentucky has been very lucky and been very fortunate with choosing coaches. And I think we take that for granted that if Cal left today, we could just find somebody off the street and plug and play. That's not how this goes. You can look at Kentucky's neighbors to the north, and Indiana had a nice run. A couple of bad hires. Even the bluest of blue bloods, it's not just the name. It's the person leading the program, right? Where you are, Knoxville, Kentucky or Tennessee women's basketball program was a juggernaut. And they've had a couple of coaches since Pat Summitt. And it hasn't gone the way they thought. We just assume because we're Kentucky, and even Billy Gillespie was SEC Coach of the Year, which is just mind-boggling when you think about it. The dude we don't talk about still was SEC Coach of the Year. But that doesn't mean that the next coach will be able to do it.
And you mentioned Pat Summitt. Her first replacement assistant sat at her side for years, Holly Warlick. And now, Kelly Jolly, former player, played for Tennessee, played for Pat Summitt, thus proving that it just doesn't rub off. Just because you sit beside a Belichick and Summitt and Geno don't mean go out and replicate it.
And so we talk about things like Kentucky basketball, Alabama football, have this institutional knowledge, for lack of a better word, on how to be good, right? The thing is, you get to those places, you are going to have everything you need to be good, whether it's investment, fan support, you're going to get it, but you still have to do the job. Yeah. And I think that Kentucky fans, since we're, Cal's year 14 now, don't remember how bad things were before he got here.
That's true.
We were hanging on the precipice of being irrelevant for a generation. And I don't say that lightly. When you look, because Patrick Patterson's leaving, Jody Meeks is leaving, no one's coming in.
Sure weren't. at all.
It was this close to ending up like IU.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole issue with that is, look, I don't want to replace either one of them. I
Right.
just don't.
Mhm.
I don't. So then it's, well, Mitch, that's the dude. Well, so as I said on Round of Shots, and for whatever reason, Mitch Barnhart, as a UK athletic director, he's either a buffoon that has no idea what he's doing, or he's some evil genius, depending on how you want to frame things. The stuff that happens that we don't like, he's 100% responsible for. The stuff that happens that's good, it's forced on him and it's accidental. He 100% hired Billy Gillespie. He then conversely had nothing to do with John Calipari. He
Nope.
100% hired Joker, and then he had nothing to do with Mark Stoops.
Yeah, that was Tim Couch and them. That wasn't Mitch.
Yeah, he just, so there's that aspect of it.
Yeah.
There's this notion that he is like Scrooge McDuck from the old DuckTales cartoons, and he's just sitting on a money bin of money, and he's just refusing to give it out. So when I see people say Mitch doesn't want to give football any money, and I go to the ukathletics.com/facilities, and I look up, okay, so starting in 2013, softball got a new stadium, 9.5 mil, right? Soccer in 2015, 8 mil. Football 2015, 126 million for upgrades to Kroger Field, which you and I were in the press box before then. It was needed, right? It was necessary.
Yeah.
2016, the football crafts practice facility, 45 mil. 2018, Memorial completely renovated, 15 mil. The basketball craft locker room redone, 4 mil. Baseball 2019, 49 mil.
Mhm.
So my addition may not be, I've got roughly $260 million in facility upgrades or investments.
Mhm.
That does not include the Rupp Arena renovations that started in 2016. You remember Big Bertha? Big Bertha gone. All the investments there. That's a $310 investment. I was not able to locate what UK's portion is. So it's conceivable that it's right around $300 million, $250 million in the last 7 years. And you're telling me he does not want to invest.
They're putting video boards up as we speak in
Right.
Kroger Field.
Right. And the video boards they're taking down were put up in 2017. Okay. So is it fair to say, yeah, does the basketball need new practice? Sure, they need to be the flagship. That's great. Football needs it, but the conversation can't be, well, he doesn't. The conversation, if you want to have it, should be he should do more. The issue is once football got the necessary, $180 million, at that point, the university turned its attention toward the quote unquote minor sports. And as I said on Round of Shots, as I've tweeted, as I tell people, you want to say, and I'm speaking generally, well, we don't care about all that. Give football what they want, give men's basketball what they want. Okay. So since we've had investments into the women's track program, which took place in 2013, 2014, well, what happened? Well, they finished second in the country in 2015. Coach Floreal, who we've had on this show, left to go to Texas. We brought in Coach Lonnie, Coach Green, and the programs kept moving. So my point to that is you can't root on Abby. You can't root on Sydney setting world records, winning gold medals, beating your chest. That came with investment, right? So a few years ago, the volleyball team in Memorial Coliseum gets renovated. Well, what happens? Volleyball team wins a national championship, and we're puffed out our chest as we should. A
Mm-hmm.
few years ago, the Hillary J. Boone Tennis Center got a complete renovation. What happens? Men's tennis finished second in the country, national runner-up this past year.
Yo.
You, all those people, all those students, all those student athletes deserve to have top flight facilities.
Mm-hmm.
And so you football and men's look, it's not a zero sum game, right?
No.
But Mitch's job isn't just to cater to football and basketball.
Right.
It's to run a top-notch athletic program, which he has done.
Yeah.
So again, I say all this to say Mitch is not scared to invest, even though he's not to get funding and all that kind of stuff. It's got to go through the university board. It's got to be approved through the General Assembly of the state of Kentucky. It's not like you can just start writing checks.
Yep.
So is there more he can do? Probably. But to say he's not doing anything and he's the impediment to Kentucky being great, that's where you lose me.
And for the alcohol thing, there's a lot of people, fussing about that. I think Alabama just started selling alcohol, just approved it like this week going into this year, and Auburn and Georgia still haven't either. Now, I'm not saying that means Mitch is cool or not, but he's still, everybody acts like he's the only school in the SEC that hasn't. Like Vanderbilt's down there just handing out 40s, and that's not what happens. There's still some places where you think would already be drinking, and they're not. And so I don't know if those ADs are getting what Mitch is getting, but he's not the absolutely dead last dude to do it in this conference.
So I think when it comes to the alcohol, that's two different discussions. What some proponents would say is, yeah, you sell alcohol, that will help pay for a whole bunch of stuff. Got to get that alcohol money. Number one, how much alcohol do you think people drink? Okay, so I looked at front office sports when the SEC began to sell alcohol. So Texas A&M, this is from 2019 numbers. Their gross alcohol revenue was $2.4 million. Gross. So let's say that Kentucky can outdrink them and get to $3 million. $3 million is a good number, but what are you doing with that? If the renovation or a brand new football practice facility was $45 million, how many years of alcohol sales do you need? Right? But understand.
As many years it's going to take Tennessee to tie us into basketball.
and so I had someone say, well, the new SEC TV deal, that money's coming. That money is coming. It ain't came yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And one thing we do know about how the athletic department is run, let me get this. Basically, and I want to get this accurate. The athletic department is not going to go into debt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people need to understand. Oh, let me find it. Okay. So UK athletics remains a rarity in college athletics, an athletics department that not only operates on a balanced budget self-sufficiently with the help of no state or university funds or student fees, but also contributes a significant portion of its revenue to university initiatives. This basically the new Jacobs Science Building. They've built a bunch of buildings since we've been there, right? This Jacobs science building doesn't. Not that I was into too many science buildings when I was there, but anyway, they're paying for nearly 2/3. Athletic department is paying for 2/3 of that building, and so it is a source of pride, not just among Mitch, but among all the other movers and shakers, that the Kentucky Athletic Department is self-sufficient, pays its bills, and contributes to the university. Those are three things, and you can talk about, well, Mitch, that is not going to happen. That is not the way the university is set up to operate. The people that contribute more than you want it run this way. And that's what I tell people. The
Right.
people that contribute a lot of zeros that you don't even know about
Yeah.
want the alcohol policy, and they want the athletic department run this way.
Mm-hmm.
Because we see all over the place athletic departments running in the red. As tuition goes up, more and more people are saying, why is X amount of tuition going toward athletics?
Yep.
Believe it or not, the University of Louisville wasn't even paying for the electricity at their sport facilities.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a sense of pride.
Mm-hmm.
One of the few that you could probably count on one hand of all the universities in the country, completely self-sufficient. Even ones that bring in more revenue, completely self-sufficient. And I tweeted this out, retweeted this out. Evan Crane, who was, I believe, SID for women's basketball forever. This is what he said. He was quote tweeting the Kentucky Athletics account that basically was touting Kentucky finished 9th overall in the Director's Cup. This is Evan Crane. Over 2 years ago, in the early stages of a pandemic, on a Zoom call with 250 plus employees, I remember Mitch saying, "This is a family. Families stick together. Layoffs are not an option. We'll come out on the other side better and together. This is the other side. That is leadership." So I say all that to say, yes, Mitch could have handled this situation better. You have to be able to get Cal and Stoops, get them on a Zoom call. You can FaceTime more than one person at a time. You set it up, you have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Because this does not benefit the university at all. Everybody looks bad.
Yeah. Now, I'm with you on everything you said. I mean, historically, like we all know, like you just said, people outside of Kentucky, basketball is going to come up. Where are you from? Kentucky. Oh, basketball. So historically, we're a basketball school. That goes without saying. So if something goes without saying, you don't even have to say it. So Cal shouldn't have said that. And it did, like you said, it sounded like he took a little pat on the head. Hope y'all keep winning 10 games. That's nice. Oh, that's cute. Hope you win 10 games and go to bowls. Keep, so like you said, we talk about petty and we love people getting petty and getting their back up about it. Anybody in Stoops' position, especially we know how pitiful it was when he came into where he's got it, anybody's going to kind of be offended by when they hear that. It's a basketball school. Hope they keep doing what they doing. And Cal could have made valid points for the practice facility without even mentioning football. The Kraft Center is 14, 15 years old. Is it decrepit? Is it as bad as Commonwealth before the renovation? No, but it's not up there where Kansas and UNC have got to. They gotten passed by some others. And maybe it is time to bump them back up to where Cal thinks they should be. You can say all of that without saying we're a basketball school. Hope, football keeps doing what they're doing. Georgia have this, Alabama this. We win 10 games. All of that. So, like you said, he stepped in it with that. And, we've been sat through some Cal pressers. The dude, we've heard. I haven't. It's been a long time since I was wrong. Last time I was wrong, 1978. When that dude has TJ Bosner tweet out, "My bad," and then he tells Keith Farmer, friend of this show, on video, I shouldn't have said that. When that dude is apologizing to that extent, they let you know he knows he done messed up. Now with you, like Stoops, he's a redhead, he's a ginger. We all know what they say about that. He was firing off tweets and he quote tweeted it. Then he retweeted Aaron Gershon. He retweeted whoever was taking his side saying, man, Cal shouldn't have done that. He was retweeting it. So like you said, he ratcheted it up more than it should have been. Then in the press conference he did, which they hadn't met yet, which that's like you said, Barnhart should have got him on the call.
Absolutely.
So he was scheduled to speak anyway. I ain't gonna hold back the whole born on third base and that whole thing. I'm with you on all that. So Mitch should have gotten together and squashed it long before that. To your point, Mitch did mention he mentioned ninth in the Directors Cup 2 or 3 times in his press. He flexed on that 2 or 3 times, as he should.
And he absolutely should, because Mitch has got an ego too, as well as he should. Like I said, now in the sports world, you almost can't go a few weeks without a former UK athlete shining, whether it's Olympics, world champion. Like, we're becoming an everything school, you know? So yeah, he's got to have his chest poked out too, because all those things I just read, that's a rarity, and he's running that. Over his 20 years, he got UK self-sufficient. All that happened.
Yeah.
One exercise, I think people, if Cal had said this in 2015, would people have been upset? If when it was announced that Kroger Field was going to get, nearly 130 million, and then the football team was going to get a 50, he could have said in 2015, coming off of 4 Final Fours in 5 years, he could have been like, why are they getting it? They ain't done nothing. Because a lot of these people, well, Cal needs to win more championships, and the football people, okay, but at some point, football needed those investments, and they hadn't shown anything on the field that was worthy of $160 million. So it kind of goes both ways. Like I said, I think at the end of all this, everybody's going to get what they want. It was an ugly way to go about it. Cal, and the whole framing that people put out there, well, if Mitch was better, you shouldn't have Cal or Stoops begging in public. I have watched a lot of coaches talking. They all are talking about, they all want more. They all want more. Whatever it is. Nick Saban has asked for more in a press conference talking to someone. They all want more. It's not about begging, but that they all do that. That's a coach's thing. Even when they get something brand new, they're looking on to the next thing. That's just how these things go.
And everybody knows, it's been well documented, Cal and Mitch aren't that tight, aren't that close, oil and water, whatever you want to call it. Friend of this show, who's now DePaul, Dwayne Peavy, supposedly kind of soothed a lot of that tension for a lot of years. He's not there now. So Mitch also got in we're going to be grateful. We're not going to be entitled. And he got them digs in.
Yeah.
Maybe that was some of his personal feelings, how he felt, and he kind of let that out. I did like how he got animated on one thing, and then another thing where he kind of mishandled it. The part where, because he does seem kind of conservative, kind of laid back. And we saw Brian Harsin at Auburn tweeting out with Bruce Pearl, like they're the best of buddies, football and basketball can get along. I think Arkansas, some of the other schools were kind of jumping in to say, hey, look at us. We're united. But Brian Harsin, he might be the first coach fired this year. He might not even make it through the season. But Bruce Pearl, I don't even know if Bruce knows who he is, but yeah, me and Bruce, look at us taking a shot at Kentucky. So Mitch said, I've seen a lot of my friends and colleagues tweeting stuff that he didn't expect to see them tweeting. And he said, if that's how we want to play, then let's go. And I was like, oh, okay, Mitch. So to see him get fired up about some of that, I like that. Now, everything school, Sydney McLaughlin, Abby Steiner, swimming and diving, volleyball, minor sports. We wouldn't know about it. Sure, he contributed some of his leadership. We wouldn't have known about it without the media coverage. So to get up there and say the media ain't tweeted this and that and said nothing about track.
Yeah.
We talked about Abby. We talked about them. I retweeted UK track. I don't know how many times.
Yeah.
Larry Vogt, all these people, and friend of the show, Mark Story, thought he was being facetious when he said it. I didn't think so. So to get up there and just say, y'all ain't tweeted one thing or TikTok or whatever the heck you do about none of this other stuff. When Mitch, you lying through your teeth when you said that.
Well,
that was terrible.
I think he was trying to be. I do think he was trying to be funny, but not everybody can tell a joke, and that's the point. Is he's not good at PR.
No,
he's not. He doesn't interview well, and I'll be the first person to say that. And so a lot of what Mitch has done has been, he leans on his resume, which he should.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said at the very beginning of this discussion, we needed a PR person, and we did not have that. No. It's a bad look for all three of them.
It is.
Because as I forgot what GIF I used. You got national championship rifle coach. You got all these other coaches like we count too.
Mm-hmm.
And so football, basketball, whatever, it's an everything school. You can come to the University of Kentucky, whatever the sport, and you can compete.
Yep.
Whatever it is. So at the end of the day, everybody needs to kiss and make up. I know that Mitch and Cal, whatever that relationship is, I think they both want to win.
Yeah, and neither one of them come out and refuted all the stuff about they don't like each other. Ain't nobody come out and say, "Hey, all this stuff about us not liking each other." Ain't neither one of them come out and refuted any of that. So it's probably some tension.
Look, you're old enough to remember Shaq and Kobe, right? And look, you can still be successful and not like a coworker. Like that's not a prerequisite. You looking at the Last Dance. How many of those dudes liked Michael Jordan? Like I'm sure they liked winning and they liked all that, but how many liked Michael Jordan? There's people you don't like at your work right now, but you got to get along to get a team goal. That's not unusual. Like to me, that doesn't bother me. Well, Cal and Mitch don't talk, don't do. Okay. Like, okay. No. But they still have jobs to do. They're still professionals. They're still going to do what they can to be successful. Had the relationship been better, would Cal not have worded things a little bit differently? Probably.
Yeah.
I get it. He wanted to put some outside pressure on Mitch. Like, look at what these programs have. We're supposed to be the gold standard, and that's a conversation we can have.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'll get 4 players to do it. We'll just do it without you.
Yeah, there's ways to go about it, and trying to put Mitch in a box. And if I'm Mitch Barnhart, no, you can't do me like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm grown. Like, that's just so. Everybody is a twinge right. Everybody is a twinge wrong.
Yes.
It was an ugly look. Feinbaum saying that Cal has overstayed his welcome.
Feinbaum been ready to fire that shot for years. You can tell he had it locked and loaded. Just couldn't wait to say it.
And look, sharks smell blood in the water.
Yes, that's all that was.
And honestly, this was a blip. We're doing this because we've got no real games to speak of.
True. Mm-hmm.
But as I said on Spaces last night, November 19th and November 20th, that's the Georgia game football, and that's the Gonzaga game basketball.
Mm-hmm.
If we get to that Georgia game with like you and I predicted, and it's that 10th win, ain't nobody worried about that.
Yeah.
if we the men's basketball team beats Michigan State, I think that's who we got in the Champions Classic. Beat Michigan State, and then you take care of Gonzaga. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. If we're in a situation where if you get to 10 wins and you beat Georgia, you're going to Atlanta. Football team, great. And then if Cal follows it up and shakes off the rust and gets to the Final Four, okay. This has a year to be a big year for a lot of programs. Volleyball, we know, is at a high level. Baseball, hopefully they can stay healthy. We saw what they were when they got healthy at the end of the year. We know gymnastics. We know softball is always in it. So keep in mind, we got to 9th in the country, and the basketball team, men's basketball, lost in the first round. So you factor in, if men's basketball can make a Final Four run, if women can make it to the second weekend, and everybody else either maintains or improves, that's a lot of hardware coming to Lexington. So to me, this was just something everybody got in their feelings. And it happens. Look, I get in my feelings sometimes. It happens. I'm not laying blame, but I just wish cooler heads would have prevailed, because we don't need football players tweeting out things about the basketball team. Now, you notice who was silent. I did not see any back and forth with the basketball players, which I thought I'm sure they were told, don't get into it. But like I said, I understand it. I just wish it was handled a little bit differently. But
and
as kids say, it is what it is.
Yeah, and one more thing about Feinbaum too, talking about, I interviewed Cal at the spring meeting in Destin, and I could see it in his eyes. If you saw it in his eyes, why didn't you say something then? If it was so bad, why you wait till now? So that let you know he had that locked and loaded. And back to the revenue, you mentioned a focus being put on all of the sports. We talked about how Kentucky is not Texas from a financial standpoint. So we putting all this other revenue and focus on these other sports to build them up. It's more of you have to wait. It's a bigger rotation to it comes back around to basketball. Basketball got all the money, football got the money. Nobody was worried about baseball and gymnastics and tennis and soccer. Now these funds have to be allocated a little bit different. And now to me, it's kind of like Mitch is like at the circus, the guy spinning the plates. You got to go from one plate to the other to keep them all spinning. So by the time you get back to the craft center, it is 14, 15 years old, and it's not where it was. Everybody got to wait to turn a little bit more now when everything's cool.
And again, Kentucky, although it is self-sufficient, the revenues, if you look at the revenues, even though being in the SEC, it's not as high as you would think. Because Kentucky's not a rich state.
Yeah, right.
Generally speaking. When you look at, and I know SEC is going to bring money in. I get that. But your boosters, Texas got oil money. And as we've said before, go to your gas pump, you tell me what you see. Right? That oil money is going to be there. Coal ain't hitting like it used to. Tobacco ain't hitting like it used to in Kentucky. Nope. So it's not quite the same. Now, again, not poor. I'm just talking about relatively speaking. Just like here in Iowa, corn prices. That depends on the booster, pork prices. Bomani Jones pointed this out. You can see when a lot of teams are good, what the economy around the university is doing. When Miami of Florida in the early mid 80s, when those narcotics were flowing, and Miami kind of became the center of everything, the U was the U, right? SMU, early 80s, when gas prices really started spiking, and you had all those rich dudes in the Dallas area that went to SMU, they decided SMU will be good at football. And we got the Pony Express.
No.
So if you look at a lot of the ups and downs and waves of some of these programs, they do big things depending on how their boosters make money.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, Kentucky's got boosters. Kentucky's got fervent fans, but it's not this bottomless pit of money
Right. Right.
that people assume it is. It just isn't.
Yeah.
And that's not crying poor. That's like you said. You got to have a list. You got to allocate.
That's
And
it.
I'm sure that if Mitch wanted to, you build something new every year, but that's not the reality of it.
Mm-hmm. That's it. You mentioned the corn prices. The Field of Dreams game just rolled through. The Cubs and the Reds came through. A few hours away from where y'all are. You got into the spirit of it, I guess, a little bit out there in the backyard. And
As soon as we moved into this house, I looked. I said, "What is that out there? That's a cornfield." So I was like, "There's a cornfield in my backyard." And I was thinking, I know what I'm going to do when it's the Field of Dreams game. So my wife is awesome. She's exceedingly patient to film me and take pictures of me coming out of the corn on the Field of Dreams. Uh,
the
I'm
Expos
ridiculous.
jersey on. The Expos jersey and the
That's right. That's right. That did have the Expos jersey on for that, and even Lil Miss understood when I said it to her. She's like, "That's that movie about those people in the corn." So she's obsessed. She told me to watch out for the children of the corn, but then she also got the Field of Dreams reference. So yeah, I'm ridiculous. She's great. It's like I said, the corn's right there. So
yeah, yeah. And I don't know who won the game, but I
the
guess
Cubs won. The Cubs won.
okay. The two takeaways you had King Griffey Sr., King Griffey Jr. come out of the corn to
Hmm.
play catch. Now, shocker, TB, I have not seen that movie, but I'm not a movie guy. I haven't seen the movie, but I've heard about it and the references and father son play.
I haven't seen it either. And so there is a disconnect, I think. And we've talked about this when we talk about baseball in general. For black people, baseball is a little bit different. So when you think about when Field of Dreams came out, what generation were they going back to? Shoeless Joe and those guys. Well, we weren't allowed to play.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember when it came out and there was a big deal and talked to my dad about it, like, I don't know. Give me Satchel Paige and Josh. There was no connection for us to watch that movie. Like
Mm-hmm.
if that's your bag, I get it. That's great, but I just didn't have that connection
Yeah. And
because they were harking back to a time where we couldn't play.
mm-hmm.
So you can't have that. And as we've talked about before with the Griffies, a lot of the stars or the bigger stars when we were coming up were sons of ball players.
Yeah.
King Griffey Jr., Barry
Mm-hmm.
Bonds. They were kind of second generation.
Yeah.
So anyway, we could dive into why black folks ain't playing baseball. It's why I love Tim Anderson
uh-huh.
of the White Sox. But part of the reason is that baseball doesn't want to change. Part of the reason is part of the reason is Field of Dreams. Baseball loves looking back, but doesn't want to move forward. And for some people, that's part of the appeal, and I get it. Baseball is timeless, blah, 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 blah. Look, the NBA is not going to play a game at, the YMCA where Naismith invented the game. Like, it's just not going to happen. The NFL isn't going to start playing in leather helmets
Mm-hmm.
and say you can't forward pass. Those leagues have changed.
Mm-hmm.
And baseball really doesn't want to, and the powers that be in baseball don't want it to. So whether that's right or wrong, baseball is forever backward looking.
Yeah, that is true. Second takeaway, I got to know what the Cubs won. Your lovely wife, Katie, who is on the Mount Rushmore of Cubs fandom.
She's
They
something.
tweeted her. They put her name on the scoreboard and
Oh yeah,
this
yeah.
and
She's a
that.
big deal.
So she is huge in Fly to W Nation. The Harry Carey take me out to the ball game holograph. Did Cubs Nation approve?
No, no,
Disapprove?
no.
Okay.
When it got leaked, and I forget who on like that. This is it. It just what are we doing?
Okay.
Like for me, just show a video. Like what are we doing? It started with the Tupac hologram. However many years that we don't need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It just it looks creepy. To
Yeah,
be
man,
honest with you,
that was rough.
yeah, and just play the just you can literally just play a clip of Harry Carey at Wrigley singing
Yeah,
it. What are we doing?
that was.
Yeah, but I don't know any Cubs fans that were okay with that.
Okay. I pulled it up on Twitter. I heard about the next day. I went, what? So just
Yeah.
type in Harry Carey, the holograph on the
Hey,
video.
Kate,
Ooh.
how'd you feel about Harry Carey? I just asked her, and she did say that the hologram was horrible. So
Mm-hmm.
Cu- Cubs Twitter not too warm to
Right.
that.
Yeah, man, that was.
But we did watch the game, so that's good. As my lovely wife did point out, it was one of the few times we could actually watch a Cubs game in Iowa because, as I've told you before,
Yeah,
Iowa's blacked out for every team that's reasonably close.
that's so
That's
stupid.
another thing baseball's got to fix.
That's so stupid. So does
Yeah,
WGN even show them anymore? I mean, they used to be every
they've
day.
moved to marquee, and hold on, I'm talking. Uh, I'm talking. Hold on, sweetie. So do the Cubs? Is it just all marquee now? Because WGN gets some games, don't they? Yeah,
It's
WGN gets some games, but it's not quite like it was back when you could,
used to be
you know,
every afternoon.
yeah, that's why there's so many Cubs and Braves fans because you had WGN and WTBS,
Mm-hmm.
with those Braves games starting 5 minutes after the hour.
Yeah,
I'm
and
that
when
old to remember when everything was at 7:05. Them's were the days, baby.
yeah, and man, when we first started, the Cubs didn't even have lights. They all had to be day games. Back when we
Yeah,
was little,
yeah.
and when the Cubs would play the Braves, I was still a Braves fan, but I would flip from TBS to WGN just to
Yeah.
listen to Harry, and
It
then
was a simpler time.
you get
It was
Harry
a,
Carey, Skip Carey, father son. I'm like, oh man,
it was a much simpler time back in those days. But again, baseball at some point, and they powers that be haven't done it for the last 100 years. They got to be forward thinking.
yeah. Uh, mm. They just need to. The World Baseball Classic is where it's at. That's who has fun. That's who
Yes.
has. You got Colombia playing the Bahamas, and somebody gets a home run. Somebody hits a single to right, and a run scores, and they cheering like they won the World Series. And it's the top of the second inning, and it's just flavor and it's fun, and it's just that's what needs to be infused into MLB's veins. Put some of that World Baseball Classic vibes into it.
Sports is supposed to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
If I take a stick and hit a ball traveling 90 miles an hour, I hit that ball 400 feet. That is to be celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're the person that threw it, I'm going to let you know you threw that, and then I hit it with this stick. There we go.
Yep.
That's part of it. That's part
Mm-hmm.
of it. Now, people talk, sportsmanship, it's a little overrated, the professional level. Like, if I dunk on you, I'm going to tell you about it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, if I make a play on you in football, I'm going to tell you about it. Like, I know you Cowboys fans don't like Terrell Owens there at the Star. Well, keep him out of the end zone. That's how you solve that. If I catch this in your house, I'm going to let you know about it. And if you don't like it, keep me from doing it.
That is. Well said. Well said. No matter who you root for or whose team gets scored on, that is it, man.
Yeah, looking at your boy though, Michael Irvin says the Cowboys could go undefeated this year, baby.
Ugh.
If the Dallas Cowboys clean up these penalties, they'll be chasing the undefeated 1972 Miami Dolphins.
Don't put that on them, Mike. Don't put that on them.
And I'm just like, look, the Cowboys lost a home playoff game to a team led by Jimmy Garoppolo, so let's pump those brakes on going undefeated. They
Yeah,
still got to do that.
yeah. Mm. Just make the playoffs. They ought to win the division. I mean, I am a homer, but I think they should be better. The division is still kind of garbage. We ought to win that and
But
get
the
the playoffs.
Commanders,
With Carson Wentz, that don't scare us. He he's making his second tour duty in the NFC East. Then he a journeyman already, highest paid journeyman in league history. Philly,
man,
Indy, and now back to Washington. But he was better than Dak. Let Philly tell it. Oh, he's better than Dak. Okay.
for 10 games, he was. I mean, and look, we have seen it. We talked about Jeremy Lin a couple of weeks ago. We have seen dudes be great for 2 weeks
Yeah.
or for a month or so in all kinds of sports.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was Fernando Tatis for the Cardinals. He had like a 4 home run game, and then a couple of days later, 2 or 3 home runs, and that was it. Like sometimes with sports, you just, it's like Timmy Smith for the Washington football team when Doug Williams led he had 240 yards rushing the Super Bowl, and for his career, he had barely over 300 total yards.
Mm.
All of it in the Super Bowl. Like that's just one of those. Sometimes stuff just happens like that. And what separates the good from the great is, can you do it for more than 10 games?
Mm-hmm.
And it was clear that Carson Wentz was fool's gold.
I mean, just
You have to have a lot of things break right.
Nick Foles wins the championship, and he's never got it back. He's never recaptured whatever that
And
was.
sometimes you are what you are. Jimmy G has looked great at times. And then there's times where it's just like, what are we doing here? Like, closing your eyes and throw a pass to the Super Bowl. Not the way I would have done it. So, sometimes the players are who they are.
He's still on the roster, right? They have not traded him yet.
That's correct. I would imagine someone.
I mean, if I'm everybody else, I ain't offering that much. I don't know what they're trying to hold out for or what.
Somebody's going to be desperate enough to overpay for Jimmy G.
Yeah, that's true.
I believe that's the play right now. The Jets quarterback Zach Wilson. I think I initially saw it was an ACL tear, but I think it's not quite that. So if you've got, depending on who your backup is, and you got a dude that goes down, you might just have to overpay for Jimmy G. And hope you can get a couple of W's. Unless you just want to tank the rest of the season. So somebody will move on Jimmy G, and because my Niners, like I told you, it's win now. Nobody in the NFC is scary, and I'm not trying to smack talk, but just on the field, most 49ers fans like, look, if we can get like 10 to 15% improvement from the quarterback position, because the defense is ready, right? And there's enough pieces on offense from Debo to Kittle to Jusic to Ayuk, and there's enough pieces. If we just get a little incremental improvement, just sustain a little bit more on, convert more third downs, keep the defense off the field. If we can get a little bit more, getting back to the Super Bowl is not out of the question.
Russ is not in Seattle. Who knows what's going on with Kyler Murray and them? They start hot and fade. So it's y'all and the Rams basically again going in for that division.
And keep in mind, the Rams NFC Championship game was the first win in like 4 years for the Rams over the Niners. So, and that was just a 3-point game.
Yeah.
And the wife will tell you, I'm watching. I'm like, just one play, Jimmy. Just one play. Just one play.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Just one.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl. Just one play. One play. Third down. One play.
Yeah. That's excruciating. Excruciating. Oh, not trying to be too down, but Grant Hill's mom passed away a few weeks ago. Janet Hill. Saw that and all the things she had done, all the things. Calvin playing for the Cowboys, playing in the league, Yale, all the committees Janet was on, and just the thing that stood out to me. Of course, we know what happened with Grant going to Duke and his career and all that, but I don't know where I saw it, but I've never forgot it. But Grant is the only child, and both of them, Calvin and Janet, were only children. So Grant grew up without siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, which is just wow to me. You take pictures with Mama B and Aunt May and all the time, but to grow up with no cousins or aunts or uncles I can't even really fathom that. That is wow. And to be the only child of two only children is just that's wow.
Yeah. So condolences to the Hill family. You talked about him last week. Grant Hill, granted, didn't have the professional career we thought, but still pretty darn good, right?
Yeah.
And so condolences to the Hill family.
Yeah. So, but I always that's besides his own record. I always just think about that. He's the only child of two only children. Serena.
We gotta give props to the GOAT.
This coming U.S. Open will be the final time we see her. You go back to she's just a little bit younger than us, but you try to think of tennis without her. I was trying to think, and I remember a little bit of the tail end of Martina Navratilova, a little bit of clips of her. Her and had some. I mean, that was like Chamberlain Russell. That was a huge rivalry.
Yeah, Steffi Graf, Monica Seles when she got stabbed.
Yeah,
which is still as bizarre. Like what? Like we don't talk about that enough. Like we were just like, oh, she got stabbed. That's crazy, man. Like that should have been more. That should have been a bigger deal.
Dominant as she was, and for that to happen, she didn't win to that level, but I always throw Gabriella Sabatini is a name that I remember, and of course
Jennifer Capriati.
My dad would just say, "You just know about Gabriella because she's pretty," and I'm like, "You're not wrong, Dad. You are not wrong." But those are the names pre-Venus and Serena, and from that point on, they've just been part of the fabric of our sports life, rising to dominate for decades. All the time having to go through each other half the time to win titles and beating down all comers otherwise as well, but just amazing.
So I don't think we give the Williams sisters quite enough credit. We talk about the Mannings and different families, but from where they came from to where they got and the sport they got it in, it's just miraculous.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they first hit the scene, Venus was supposed to be the one and Serena was the throw-in. And so there was an article, and I can't remember where it was. The wife sent it to me. Basically, Serena saying her goodbyes, and basically how it was motivating for her to beat Venus. Like that was a whole part of her thing was to beat her big sister. And it reminded me of my girls. A lot of what Little Miss does is to be better than my oldest. And, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
she just texted me. The article was in Vogue magazine. Thank you, sweetie.
Okay.
But I shared that with my youngest, and she was like, "Yeah, she wants to beat my oldest and everything. Who got the better grades and all this kind of stuff." So Serena explaining that aspect of it, but then just, I mean, 23 Grand Slam titles. That is ridiculous. 23.
Mm-hmm.
And that's taken time off, because remember, she fell off for a little bit and we thought she was done. Then she won 10 more.
Yep. Absolutely.
And again, I'm not a tennis aficionado, but when Serena was on, there wasn't anybody better.
Mm-hmm.
And
She could overpower you. She could beat you any kind of way she wanted to. She could
yeah,
track down whatever you tried to hit at her. Just a little drop shot. Oh, that ain't working. You can't out physical me because you're just not as strong
yeah,
as I am. So that ain't
that's
working.
right. And who was it? They said was Serena's rival that had only beaten Serena once. Serena beat her 20 times. Oh,
Not Sharapova.
yeah. Sharapova
Sharapova?
is a rival the same way the Coyote is a rival to the Roadrunner. The same way the Washington Generals are rival to the Harlem Globetrotters. Come on, man.
Speaking of the Washington Generals, I went to our friend of the show, Craig Bates, who comes on Talk Hockey, Fangear Barn. He had his grand opening for friends and family. I got this reversible UK practice jersey and all kind of other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He had a Washington Generals bowling ball bag in his shop. And I was like, man, how random is that? He's like, after we get our butts kicked by the Globetrotters, we just take our own bags to the bowling alley. We're the Washington Generals. So it was just very random. But yeah, that's how one-sided Serena was with her quote rivals. You're exactly right.
So looking at Serena's Wikipedia page, there's a whole section on rivalries. Of course, Venus and Serena. Serena is 19-12 head to head. I didn't realize that they got Serena versus Martina Hingis. Williams leads 7-6.
Mm-hmm.
Williams versus Capriati. Williams leads 10-7. Williams versus Justine Henin. Serena wins 8-6. Williams versus, I don't even remember this, Azarenka. Williams leads 18-5. And Williams versus Sharapova, it's 20-2. It's 20-2. It like
everybody wanted Sharapova and Konikova to be legit tennis players so bad.
91% of the time, Serena has beaten. Like, that's not a rivalry. It's just not.
No.
So anyway, but yeah, Serena, she's great. I think she's handled herself remarkably well. It's well documented what the Williams sisters went through when they first started back in the 90s. And they have carried themselves remarkably well.
Absolutely.
And I'm old enough to remember when Richard Williams, they called that man crazy. He told everybody, these girls are going to take over tennis. That's what he said.
Yep.
And he was spot on.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why they made King Richard as a tribute to their father.
Mm-hmm. Tennis is kind of, I don't know if you want to say is it going the way of baseball? I don't know, but it used to be watched more. I used to watch it more, but I used to, first of the year, flip on and see what's going on with the Australian Open. partly as a kid because oh man, that's awesome. It's summertime over there. I can't wait till it's summertime over here. I hate it, but
That's
then
right.
it'll be cold over there. But I can't wait till we get some summer weather. Flip on and watch a few matches, watch a few rounds, see what's happening. I always would peep at Wimbledon and see what was going on, men's and women's. French Open, I don't think I watched it as much as the other ones. But
A
then
lot of
you get
sliding on the clay.
yeah, then you get the U.S. Open when it's summer's almost over, it's September, and they're just in there raucous, and it's like an NBA game because the crowd is wild, and it's just cool. It's New York City, and so but I would just tune in and just check it out. Haven't done that as much, but definitely gonna be watching this one with it being Serena's last time to go through there for sure.
Yeah, and really, it's the death of the men's side.
Mm-hmm.
It's become Djokovic and Nadal
Federer for a long time before
and
he
those folks just don't have personality.
true.
Djokovic, I just know because he's anti-vax.
Yeah.
Like that's the big thing, and maybe it's because they're the American men since Pete Sampras. It's been bad.
Yeah.
It's a
He didn't have
long way.
personality either. He didn't have no
No,
personality.
no. There's no John McEnroe. There's no Jimmy Connors. There's no Andre Agassi.
Mm-hmm.
Dudes that are like, yeah, you got to pay attention.
Yeah.
There's been no American men, and so that's become the thing. And when Venus and Serena were at their peak, you really didn't have to tune into the first couple of rounds.
It was, yeah. Yeah, it was foregone conclusion. Sure was. Sure was. So you was gonna bring up something too before I said Serena. So I was gonna see where you was.
Oh no, I had the Serena ready to go since she said
Okay.
her saying her goodbyes, and she deserves all the accolades and more. She deserves to she deserves it all. So we toss around the GOAT a lot, but you could drop her in any era and she would be just as dominant
Yeah.
with tennis.
And you just say Serena, Ali, Kobe,
Yeah, she's reached
Kareem.
one name status. That's pretty good. We reserve those for the best of the best, and she's
Mhm.
right on that list.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely tune in to the U.S. Open and see the farewell and it'll be amped how amped the crowd will be and how reminiscent and giving love the crowd will be. And we're to the point where we've seen the entire career. We've seen her entire career. That's where we are now. But
We're getting old, man. Don't remind me.
we've seen people come in and start and end prolonged careers. I didn't watch the captain, the Derek Jeter thing, which it seemed like it was on forever. But I mean, we remember him starting and playing his career with the Yankees. I couldn't really get
I can't.
into Doc at all, but congratulations
I
to
can't
him for doing it and all
yeah,
that.
I can't think of anything less. I wanted to see less than a Derek Jeter documentary. Like
Oh,
he what like to me, the only interesting things about Derek Jeter was who he was dating at the time.
yep.
Like I don't remember ever Derek Jeter's at the was at the plate. Like I know he got to 3,000 hits, but he was never must see TV for me.
Right.
I thought he was a solid uh, defensive shortstop, but I think it's one of those things. You win a World Series, you play in New York, but I always thought A Rod was better at
Mm,
shortstop.
mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah, he
and
was
and I guess that's a knock on Jeter, but nothing about him makes me want to tune in and watch. Like,
right. That was you reserve that for wait a minute, Frank Thomas about to bat. Don't go nowhere. Frank Thomas, Sosa, McGuire for a minute. Juan Gonzalez for the Rangers when he was hitting home run but Jeter never was that type of dude. Griffey, you watched every Griffey at bat. whenever
Yeah.
you got the Mariners on TV, or you get the Sunday night baseball with John Miller and Joe Morgan, and oh wait a minute, Griffey up. Okay, I'll go to the kitchen in a minute. But yeah,
And
Jeter never did that.
no, he just got the New York bump, and of course they won
Yeah.
a lot, and but a lot of those Yankee teams, nothing about those teams really stood out. They were almost too professional.
Mm.
There were no personalities.
Mm.
I always thought that your Braves had personality in the '90s.
Yeah.
To me, in my mind, and I don't mean this negative at all, they were just some good old boys. With Chipper Jones, and they just, and I don't mean that negative. That's just when I thought about the Braves. They had some personality. The Yankees, it was like, very businesslike. They were successful, but outside of diehard Yankees fans, I can't remember anybody that was not a Yankees fan be like, those guys seem cool. It just didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
The same way with the Patriots. All those championships, and it's like, what do you remember? Tom Brady making the right play. There's very few plays where you're like, wow, or those guys seem fun. Like when your Cowboys went to the Super Bowl in the '90s, boy, like you could have stories for days. Like it was, and the thing about that, it wasn't Aikman. Usually it's the quarterback, but he was probably the most bland dude
Yeah.
on those Cowboys teams, and the Yankees just never. It was like they always made the right play, but they rarely made a spectacular play.
Yeah, that's true. And Ron Gant was on that first World Series. That was my dude for the Braves, because he was ripped. This looked like a running back, just jack. Like, man, I like this dude. But was it '96 when Jim Leyritz hit the home run off, I think, Mark Wohlers, and he went to UK. He played baseball for Kentucky, and I was like, that's cool, but I have to hate him right now, even though, because he just ripped the Braves' hearts out. Another, world, Bobby Cox got the Calipari treatment. Should have more than what he has. Fortunately, he did get the one, but a lot of those other years they would just come up short. Kirby Puckett ripped their heart out one year. Late great Puckett, Joe Carter, stuff like that. But it is what it is, like you said earlier.
and those teams that get, like, okay, you win a championship, that's great, but the team, or you are a dynasty, right? That's great, but the teams that get remembered have personality.
Yeah.
That's how you get the documentary on The Last Dance. Those Bulls team had personality. You had MJ, you had Rodman. That's enough personality for days, right? My Lakers, they got another documentary coming out on Hulu. Well, not a documentary coming out on Hulu on top of Winning Time, on top of the Magic Johnson documentary.
Legacy or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I did see that. I am.
So they had personality. Like, look, man, I know that Winning Time got played up, but Jerry Buss was a personality. Dr. Buss, personality. So it's almost like you couldn't make a documentary about those Celtics teams and all those championships. What's there to talk about?
Yeah.
Their whole thing was they won, which is great, but you need more meat to go on to. I don't think the Derek Jeter documentary, and I haven't seen any clips that come out and make me go, oh, wow. Like, I saw one, he didn't like A-Rod. Okay. Like, no one likes A-Rod.
No.
A-Rod is just one of those dudes. He ain't got no fans. It's got to be bad to be that good at something and not have any fans. Even Barry Bonds, with everything on his resume, he still got people that will go to bat for him.
Yeah.
McGuire will have people that go to bat for him. Even Sammy Sosa will have people go to bat for him. But I have never in the world of sports seen anybody say, A-Rod's my guy.
No.
I've never seen that.
Mm-mm.
Just like with the NBA schedule coming out, I don't know if you saw this. The Utah Jazz, one game on national TV. I'm 45 years old. I have never met a Jazz fan in the wild. Never. I have come across diehard Raptors fans. I've come across diehard Sonics fans. Teams don't even exist.
Yeah.
Like I've met through my former in-laws people that remember the Cincinnati Royals, like
Ooh.
but I have never come across anybody that says I ride or die for the Jazz. In Louisville, it's like go Donovan Mitchell,
Mm-hmm.
but ain't nobody riding for the Jazz.
And
They got one game. That's one too many.
And they know he probably won't even be there when that game is on. That's why, because he's gonna get traded to Charlotte or Washington or somewhere. So they're like, the Jazz get one game because nobody's there anymore and nobody cares.
Right. And somebody else, I think it was the Thunder, only got one game. I think Detroit, and then somebody else, the Magic. Those are the four teams only with one national. Like I couldn't tell you who's on the Magic. The Magic are so bad. I could name you 15 dudes that used to be on the Magic.
Yeah.
More than I could probably before I could get to. I know they drafted Paulo Banchero. I couldn't tell you anybody else on the Magic.
No.
If some 6'9" dude walked to my front door right now and said, "I play for the Orlando Magic," I'd be like, "Okay, cool."
Yep. That's the state of the Magic.
Yeah, and same way with the Thunder. They got all these kids under 20. I got kids your age. I'm not watching you play basketball. Get out of my face.
They got Holmgren, right?
They got Chet Holmgren. I know they got Shea. They got a bunch of dudes that just.
Yeah, Shea. Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
And who else? Detroit. I ain't worried about Detroit.
Cunningham, and that's the only reason they getting that. They got the number one pick last year, and yeah. Mm.
But the Lakers got Dallas on Christmas Day.
Oh,
the Knicks got somebody on Christmas Day. And let me just say this to Knicks fans. Going back to Derek Jeter, you're only special because you're in New York. What I wish NBA people would stop saying, the NBA is better when the Knicks is good. Well, we've had a lot of good times when the Knicks was terrible.
True.
How do we know when the Knicks are good? Their last championship is 4 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting ready to be 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
The last time the Knicks won, we had just gone to the moon a few years prior. Like, that's a long time. It is a long time.
Yeah.
The Knicks have more retired numbers than division titles in their history.
Sad. That is, yeah. Boy.
And I'd get Madison Square Garden, and it's great and all that kind of stuff. But Knicks fans, look, that's just a bone because y'all are a big TV market.
You're right.
I mean, when I'm talking about my Lakers having those Gonzaga dudes playing, we were still on TV all the time because we're the Lakers, and I get it. I understand why people might be mad, but the Lakers win. Come on now, Knicks ain't trying to win nothing.
No.
One division title since the OJ Bronco chase. One.
Yeah.
The Knicks been to one finals since I graduated from high school, and I'm old as dirt.
Yep. You're right, man. Well said. Well said. We covered all the athletic department drama, exhausting as it was, and it is, and made us wish we was talking about would Shaden Sharp play or not again. Maybe just want to go back to that.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go back to that. Hey, the team looked good in the Bahamas.
They did.
You can't take a whole lot from the competition. I think that last game they were a little gassed. And there one dude for the Bahamas team.
Yeah.
36 years old, dude. You need to go be with your family. Go be with your kids, man. You come on, 36. Look, if I'm 36 years old, what boy, playing against Oscar. Go be a family man. Go, UPS is hiring.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's not a whole lot you can take from the level of competition, but you definitely want to see the team bonding.
Mhm.
And that's the important thing for me was show a little bit what the young kids got. And I think the ceiling on the young kids going to be high.
Mhm.
Uh, Antonio Reeves.
Yep.
I wrote this down. Antonio Reeves is a hidden gem. He is like Shea was a few years ago. He's that throw in. And if
Mhm.
he is your eighth or ninth dude, that's a great team.
Yes.
That is a great team.
Everything.
Having two point guards, we know what Severe is going to do, but being able to play with Case and Wallace at the same time,
Mhm.
that's two ball handlers. That's a lot of. We saw some good shooting. Uh, Wallace is a heck of a defender.
Mhm.
I mean
Mhm.
that this team has a chance to be really special on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Damian Collins,
Yeah. He's
he's starting to put it together,
a
and
little bit. Yeah. I'm getting.
uh, he's going to throw some baptisms out there.
Yeah.
Jacob Toppin, has he figured it out?
Mhm.
If he has figured it out, and it looked like he did for stretches,
Yep.
I like this team.
Exactly.
It's a long way to go to wherever the Final Four is this year. I don't even know. A long way to go, but I like my team.
Yep.
And
We
with
do.
Oscar anchoring things in the middle, I like it. I like it.
Mhm.
And I'm going to get another one of these shirts, baby.
There you go. I
I
don't
need a
blame you.
bracket shirt.
That's it. That's
Now,
it.
this is an original 27-year-old shirt. Let me be very clear, because
Mhm.
I'll show my shorts from 98.9. I got the denim throwback shorts that sold out. They also had where you get like retro, and it makes me feel bad when stuff from my freshman year is retro. This makes me this. It was one thing when they put out the zigzag or the icicle shorts, and these ones are from '78. This one's from '80, whatever. Okay, those can be retro. The '96 retro throwbacks made me feel old because this shirt is that old. This shirt is authentically from that time period. It's a little frayed around the collar, not
Uh-huh.
quite what it used to be, but
Mhm.
my college days is retro now.
Yeah,
Ain't that something?
that's something. That is something.
Making me. I need to go. Need to take a bath to take care of my old bones these days.
Ooh, time don't stop. But we'll enjoy it anyway. And
Yeah,
we'll
man.
be
I got an 11th grader this year.
mm, mm. Yeah, that's
Because
unbelievable.
I saw people on Facebook, first day of school, which is probably the best day on Facebook. Everybody's kids on the first day of school. That's great. But I see some of my friends send their kids off to college. I'm like, man, y'all got some old kids. And then I'm like, well, college, big man. And then it hits me. Huh? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's
That's
right.
right.
That's
That's
right.
right. Mm-hmm.
All y'all with these old kids.
Mm-hmm.
And, and Little Miss, it's great. She gives me text updates just about every day. I get a rundown. She got a locker one day, and then she give me what she took for lunch. I love it. Keep it coming.
Absolutely. Yeah. Enjoy it while it comes.
Yeah, now Big Miss, I get an emoji every now and then, but Little Miss still lets me know. So
That's right.
keep me
Yeah.
in the loop.
That's right. Enjoy every second.
Absolutely.
We enjoyed every second of this. Even
Yeah.
all the drama and all the stuff. We have fun every week. We another week closer to college football next year, next week, and
Yeah.
actual
Yeah.
games be popping off real soon. So we'll have that in addition to all the other stuff we do every week. And y'all check it out on Roku and YouTube and Anchor and listen to us or watch us, whatever you want to do. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Another fun time.
Appreciate you every week, TB, and we always have fun with it. We'll hit this outro and we'll holler at y'all later on.